Hello, welcome back. Let's read some more. I'm almost finished uploading. It's 12 noon. It's day after Christmas. I'd like to read this Boeing. No, I was reading about this nuclear bomb in the Second World War. The little boy, the fat man, the Hiroshima and Nagasaki nuclear bomb. That was this aircraft. Let's read about it.
Boeing B-29 Superfortress. The Boeing B-29 Superfortress is an American four-engined propeller-driven heavy bomber, designed by Boeing and flown primarily by the United States during World War II and the Korean War. Named in allusion to its predecessor, the B-17 Flying Fortress, the Superfortress was designed for high-altitude strategic bombing, but also excelled in low-altitude night incendiary bombing, and in dropping naval mines to blockade Japan. B-29s dropped the atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the only aircraft ever to drop nuclear weapons in combat. One of the largest aircraft of World War II, the B-29 was designed with state-of-the-art technology, which included a pressurized cabin, dual-wheel tricycle landing gear, and an analog computer-controlled fire control system that allowed one gunner and a fire control officer to direct four remote machine gun turrets. The $3 billion cost of design and production, equivalent to $49 billion today, far exceeding the $1.9 billion cost of the Manhattan Project, made the B-29 program the most expensive of the war. 5. The B-29 remained in service in various roles throughout the 1950s, being retired in the early 1960s after three Common 970 had been built. A few were also used as flying television transmitters by the Stratovision Company. The Royal Air Force flew the B-29 with the service name Washington from 1950 to 1954 when the jet-powered Canberra entered service. The B-29 was the progenitor of a series of Boeing-built bombers, transports, tankers, reconnaissance aircraft, and trainers. For example, the re-engined B-50 Superfortress Lucky Lady II became the first aircraft to fly around the world non-stop, during a 94-hour flight in 1949. The Boeing C-97 straight-off freighter airlifter, which was first flown in 1944, was followed in 1947 by its commercial airliner variant, the Boeing Model 377 Stratocruiser. This bomber-to-airliner derivation was similar to the B-17 /Model 307 evolution. In 1948, Boeing introduced the KB-29 tanker, followed in 1950 by the Model 377 derivative KC-97. A lino-food-sized cargo variants of the Stratocruiser is the Guppy/Mini Guppy/Super Guppy, which remain in service with NASA and other operators. The Soviet Union produced 847 Tupolev Tu-4S, an unlicensed reverse-engineered copy of the B-29. 20 B-29s remain as static displays, but only two, Fifi and Doc, still fly. 6. Design and development. Before World War II, the United States Army Air Corps concluded that the Boeing B-17 Flying Fortress, which would be the Americans' primary strategic bomber during the war, would be inadequate for the Pacific theater, which required a bomber that could carry a larger payload more than 3,000 miles. 7. In response, Boeing began work on pressurized long-range bombers in 1938. Boeing's design study for the Model 334 was a pressurized derivative of the Boeing B-29 Flying Fortress with no Zulu undercarriage. Although the Air Corps lacked funds to pursue the design, Boeing continued development with its own funds as a private venture. 8. In April 1939, Charles Lindbergh convinced General Henry H. Arnold to produce a new bomber in large numbers to counter the Germans' bomber production. 9. In December 1939, the Air Corps issued a formal specification for a so-called super bomber that could deliver 20,000 pounds, 9,100 kilograms, of bombs to a target 2,667 mi. 4,292 kilometers away, and at a speed of 400 miles per hour, 640 kilometers per hour. Boeing's previous private venture studies formed the starting point for its response to the Air Corps formal specification. 10. B-29 Superfortress. A USAF B-29 Superfortress Roll Strategic Bomber, heavy bomber, national origin United States manufacturer. Boeing first flight 21 September 1942. 1. Introduction 8 May 1944. Retired 21 June 1960. Status retired. See surviving aircraft. Primary users: United States Army Air Forces, United States Air Force, Royal Air Force. Produced 1943-1946. 2. Number build 3,970 variants. All models Boeing KB-29 Superfortress, XB-39 Superfortress, Boeing XB-44 Superfortress, Boeing B-50 Superfortress. Developed into Boeing C-97 straight-off freighter, Boeing 377 Stratocruiser Tupolev Tu-4. Boeing submitted its Model 345 on the 11th of May 1940. 11. In competition with designs from Consolidated Aircraft, the Model 33, which later became the B-32. 12. Lockheed, the Lockheed XB-30, 13, and Douglas, the Douglas XB-31. 14. Douglas and Lockheed soon abandoned work on their projects, but Boeing received an order for 2 flying prototypes, which were given designation XB-29, and an airframe for static testing on the 24th of August, 1940, with the order being revised to a third flying aircraft on 14 December. Consolidated continued to work on its Model 33, as it was seen with Air Corps as a backup if there were problems with Bing's design. 15. Boeing received an initial production order for 14 service test aircraft and 250 production bombers in May 1941. 16. This being increased to 500 aircraft in January 1942. 11. The B-29 featured a fuselage design with circular cross-section for strength. The need for pressurization in the cockpit area also led to the B-29 being one of very few American combat aircraft of World War II to have a steples cockpit design, without a separate windscreen for the pilots. Manufacturing the B-29 was a complex task that involved 4 main assembly factories. There were 2 Boeing-operated plants at Renton, Washington, Boeing Renton Factory, and 1 in Wichita, Kansas, now Spirit Aerosystems, a Bell plant at Marietta, Georgia near Atlanta, Bell Atlanta, and a Martin plant at Bellevue, Nebraska, Martin Omaha or Fute Field. 11. 17. Thousands of subcontractors were also involved in the project. 18. The first prototype made its maiden flight from Boeing Field, Seattle, on 21 September 1942. 17. The combined effects of the aircraft's highly advanced design, challenging requirements, immense pressure for production, and hurried development caused setbacks. Unlike the unarmed first prototype, 19. The second was fitted with a Sperry defensive armament system using remote-controlled gun turrets sighted by periscopes and first flew on the 30th of December, 1942, although the flight was terminated due to a serious engine fire. 20. On the 18th of February, 1943, the second prototype, flying out half Boeing Field in Seattle, experienced an engine fire and crashed. 20. The crash killed Boeing test pilot Edmund T. Allen and his 10-man crew, 20 workers at the Fry meat packing plant, and a Seattle firefighter. 21. Changes to the production craft came so often and so fast that, in early 1944, B-29s flew from the production lines directly to modification depots for extensive rebuilds to incorporate the latest changes. AAF contracted modification centers and its own air depot system struggled to handle the scope of requirements. Some facilities lacked hangars capable of housing the giant B-29, requiring outdoor work in freezing weather, further delaying necessary modification. By the end of 1943, although almost 100 Boeing assembly line at Wichita, Kansas, 1944, the length of the 141-foot, 43-m, wingspan of a Boeing B-29 Superfortress based at Davis-Monthan Field is vividly illustrated here with the cloud-topped Santa Catalina Mountains as a contrasting background. Two large olive-colored aircraft flying over farmland. While B-29 Superfortresses in-flight aircraft had been delivered, only 15 were airworthy. 22. 23. This prompted an intervention by General Hap Arnold to resolve the problem, with production personnel being sent from the factory's top modification centers to speed availability of sufficient aircraft to kit the first bomb groups in what became known as the Battle of Kansas. This resulted in 150 aircraft being modified in the 5 weeks between the 10th of March and the 15th of April 1944. 24, 25, 26. The most common cause of maintenance headaches and catastrophic failures was the engines. 24. Although the Wright R3350 duplex Cyclone radial engines later became a trustworthy workhorse in large piston-engined aircraft, early models were beset with dangerous reliability problems. This problem was not fully cured until the aircraft was fitted with the more powerful Pratt & Whitney R4360 Wasp Major in the B-29D/B-50 program, why carried too late for World War II. Interim measures included cuffs placed on propeller blades to divert a greater flow of cooling air in top intakes, which had baffles installed to direct a stream of air on top exhaust valves. Oil flow to the valves was also increased. Asbestos baffles were installed around rubber pushrod fittings to prevent oil loss. Thorough pre-flight inspections were made to detect unseated valves, and mechanics frequently replaced the uppermost of cylinders every 25 hours of engine time, and the entire engines every 75 hours. A 24, 27 pilots, including the present-day pilots of the commemorative Air Force FIFI, one of the last two remaining flying B-29s, describe a flight after takeoff as being an urgent struggle for airspeed. Generally, flight after takeoff should consist of striving for altitude. Radial engines need airflow to keep them cool, and failure to get up to speed as soon as possible could result in an engine failure and risk of fire. One useful technique was to check the magnetos while already on takeoff roll rather than during a conventional status engine run-up before takeoff. 27. In wartime, the B-29 was capable of flight at altitudes up to 31,850 feet, 9,710 m, 28, at speeds of up to 350 miles per hour, 560 kilometers per hour, 300 km, true airspeed. This was its best defense because Japanese fighter scout barely reached that altitude. and few could catch the B-29 even if they did attain that altitude. Defensive gun turret emplacements. The General Electric Central Fire Control System on the B-29 directed 4 remotely controlled turrets armed with 2.50 Browning M2 machine guns each. B. All weapons were aimed optically, with targeting computed by analog electrical instrumentation. There were 5 interconnected sighting stations located in nose and tail positions and 3 plexiglass blisters in the central fuselage. C. 5 General Electric analog computers, 1 dedicated to each site, increased the weapon's accuracy by compensating for factors such as airspeed, lead, gravity, temperature and humidity.